We've got the 2024 Acura MDX.
This came out 2.5 years ago. Let's see if we still love it. Ooh, you know what, Andrea? Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, the sound of a V6.
All right. It's been 2.5 years since we've driven just the regular MDX. So what, has anything changed? What's under the hood?
A 3.5 liter V6 with a 10-speed automatic transmission, 290 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque. Standard all-wheel drive in Canada, front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive options in the US, and Acura recommends premium fuel for the MDX.
Now, if you follow along with the car industry, you might know that many brands have moved towards turbo 4 cylinders. They're sticking with a V6, so nothing has changed. All right, let's get into what do you get with this very posh-looking MDX.
The base trim comes with dual 12.3-inch screens, true touchpad interface, navigation, wireless Apple Carplay and Android Auto, a wireless charger, a 12-speaker ELS Studio premium audio system, power front seats with trim perforated leather, driver and passenger seat memory, heated front and rear seats, a heated steering wheel, panoramic sunroof, and a hands-free power tailgate with walk-away close. In the US, since there are more trims available, not all these features are standard. We'll get into the trims later in the video.
Well, it's pretty hard to miss the shifter, Andrea. She's a biggie.
Really hard.
What are we going to put it in?
You got to put it in S for subscribe. And if you can hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when all of our reviews drop, and then you can watch them.
And we do this, the couple car review, twice a week. The first one drops on Wednesday.
We put another one out on Saturday.
So make sure you like and subscribe, and also follow along on Instagram. It's Motormouth_Andrea to see what's up behind the scenes. For me, it's Motormouth_Auto, and the links are below the like button. We'll do that too. So when we drove this, when it first came out 2.5 years ago, our number one takeaway was it drives more like a large sedan. Are you still getting those vibes?
Yeah, I'm really glad we got it back because I had such fond memories of this vehicle, and it's still the same. I cannot believe for such a large vehicle how nimble this is. The cabin remains quite quiet even when accelerating quickly on the highway. It eats up those imperfections in the road, and it really feels more athletic. I think that if you want a more performance type 3-row SUV, you'll enjoy this.
All right, if you want a performance version of this, they sell that. And by the way, so it has been 2.5 years since we drove the base V6 model, but we have driven the Type S. I'm going to put a card here. That changes everything. That is way more performance oriented and kind of in a class of its own. But I agree with Andrea. This thing does everything very well, including the premium aspect of it. So yes, it handles like a car. And because they've stuck with a V6 and a very well calibrated 10-speed automatic, that it really provides the luxury you're expecting in a premium brand.
And coming up in Questions, Coffee and Cars, we've got a great question about the steering of this MDX, so stick around for that.
I would call this athletic and elegant, similar to myself, Andrea. I think that it's a good-looking vehicle. I like the bright wheels on this one.
He'll tell you so.
Do you agree?
Well, I think it's very handsome looking, isn't it?
But what about the car?
Oh, gosh. This is a trend. This is going to be a trend.
That was easy. Right out of the park.
Yeah. I think that Acura has done a great job with the design. You know, it's not too out there. The grille isn't too big. I like the chrome exterior accents.
Is that a shot at Lexus? Is that a shot at Lexus, Andrea?
A little bit big, the grills, aren't they, with Lexus? Come on, I think we can all agree on that. This comes standard with dual eye LED headlights, LED taillights. You've got power folding exterior mirrors, the rectangular shaped exhaust pipes. 20-inch wheels are standard in Canada, 19-inch in the US, and it has a temporary spare tire. Now, if you want to up the sportiness of this MDX, go with the A-Spec trim. You've got black exterior accents, the sharp gray wheels. I think it looks really great, and even the interior has that ultra suede interior in red or black.
It's the Canadian edition, eh? The A-Spec.
It certainly is.
All right, then you turn your attention to the inside, and it hasn't changed at all since we drove it a couple of years ago. And from here forward, Andrea, is the real bugaboo with this vehicle. I think the rest of it is absolutely almost perfect. The engine, the transmission, the size, the way it drives, all of that is fantastic. It's just the dash I'm not loving.
It's really polarizing. You've got the button shifter and the trackpad. Now, people who own an MDX say, Andrea, look, I've gotten used to the trackpad. You can get used to anything, but there are better systems available, Acura, and I'd like to see some changes here.
When we say we like the Mercedes ones, they say, well, how come you don't like the Acura one? Mercedes has a trackpad. Why do you like that one? Because their one works better. That's why.
Not as glitchy.
And then you've got a weird big digital shifter in the middle, and then the largest button is the dynamic mode. The one thing you probably use the least.
Yes.
I do like the little pop-up USB thing.
Kind of cool.
That's pretty cute.
Yeah.
But if they could change this, we'd have an absolute home run.
This top trim has got some really nice features in it, from a light gray wood trim. You've got French stitching on the dash. You've got piping on the seats. And guess what? The piping carries through to the headrest in the third row. We didn't see that in the Integra, did we?
Oh, I was going to say the Integra. You know what? All the money they save putting vinyl seats in the back of the Integra, they've used to make the MDX. So Acura can do it.
Yep.
So turn your attention to the rear seats in the Integra, would you?
Yes. Now, I also find the comfort level in here. The seats are really comfortable. We also have the XC90 Recharge this week. The seats are not comfortable like this, so it's kind of nice to be able to go in and out of both of them. Storage is pretty good in here. It's got a nice center console storage unit, pockets on the door, pretty good storage.
You know what the other thing is? Do you notice how wide this center console is and how far away Andrea is from me? It's a wide vehicle, it's big, and I get the sensation, and it might just be that because of the layout of the dash and the long hood, that I'm sitting lower than I typically do in most three-row SUVs, and it goes to that car vibe that we actually, you know, when we drove it 2.5 years ago, I think I said this was the best SUV I'd ever driven. Yeah. And as a driver's unit, it's excellent.
Well, you will find getting in and out of this, if you have any sort of mobility issues, a bad back, really easy, because it does sit a little bit lower to the ground. Now, when we drove this last, there were actually 4 trims in Canada, and Acura has eliminated that base model trim.
1, 2, 3. That's
in
it.
the US, there's still 4. So let's get into the trims. This key standard features that we went through, this comes with some amazing standard features. But if you want a little bit more, the A-Spec model adds the ventilated front seats and the 16-speaker ELS sound system. The top trim adds a head-up display and the surround view camera.
In the United States, the technology trim gets an ELS stereo system, leather trim seats, passenger seat memory, and navigation. The A-Spec model gets an uprated ELS Studio 3D system with ventilated front seats. Now, the top trim in the United States, you'll get similar features to what we get here in Canada. Unlike our base model, you need to get the top trim to get features like the heated steering wheel, heated rear seats, and the power tailgate. Well, here's me getting in the back seat. This is kind of unique in this category. You have on the outboard seats, they slide fore and aft, and of course they recline. You get pretty good legroom and good headroom. There is a neat trick though. The center seat is removable. Because it is fixed when it's in place, it does not slide fore and aft.
Comparing the MDX to the Lincoln Aviator, the MDX offers 41.6 inches of front row legroom, which is almost 1.5 inches less than the Aviator. Second row legroom at 38.5 inches is half an inch smaller than the Lincoln.
There's a one-touch system to slide and tilt the second row seats forward. You climb into the back. Now, this is really best for kids. Legroom I would call adequate. It's the headroom that is compromised.
Third row legroom at 29.1 inches is the same as the Aviator.
And then you lift the standard power liftgate in Canada, and you have a very useful cargo space. In fact, underneath is a very deep cargo area. It's quite impressive.
Where the MDX shines really is in overall cargo space at 95 cubic feet and space behind the second row at 48.4 cubic feet, beating out the Aviator in both areas. Behind the third row, the MDX gets 18.1 cubic feet of space, which is about the same as the Lincoln.
Oh, it's the time for coffee. Let's get at it.
Time now for questions, coffee, and cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
What are the Infiniti and Lexus competitors? The QX60 and the new TX? It seems bigger than the QX60.
Well, the QX60, they did a very good job. That's based on the Pathfinder. So if you just take Pathfinder and turn it into an Infiniti, so nicer interior, but basically the same vehicle. And they have a new 9-speed automatic.
Yes.
And that means that they got rid of, can you believe they used to sell it with a CVT?
No.
So that's the Infiniti.
And the Infiniti is smaller, you are correct. It offers less third row legroom and cargo capacity behind the third row, both two important areas when buying a 3-row SUV.
Also, Infiniti has the basic same kind of engine, V6, 3.5 liters.
Yeah, and also priced well, like very competitive, as is this MDX. As for the TX, you're right, it is going to be a competitor, but the TX is larger. It's based on the same platform as the Grand Highlander. And I would assume the measurements will be very similar. So third row legroom in the Grand Highlander is actually 3 inches more than this MDX. Wow,
that's a lot.
I know. Space behind the third row, not that much more, maybe just over 2 cubic feet more space. Also, the TX, I would think it's going to be expensive. It's coming with 3 powertrain options, 2.4 liter turbocharged gas model, a 2.4 liter turbocharged hybrid, and then the 3.5 liter V6 PHEV.
Yeah. Which is great that they've gone with a V6. So that's going to be very interesting. We're going to drive it in a few weeks, so stick around for that.
Yeah. Is it a fancier looking Honda Pilot that we will pay more for, same if not less, or is it a totally different overall experience?
Well, it is based on the same platform, same engine, same transmission. So yes, it's based on the same platform, but they execute them totally differently.
Yeah, I think it's night and day. I think the whole driving experience is different. This offers less ground clearance. This has 7.3 inches of ground clearance. It sits lower to the ground. It drives more like a large sedan. So the Honda Pilot is more like an SUV. I think that they're both good, but they're different in their own way.
Plus, you have the exterior look. I mean, this looks very sleek. It's got the long hood. It's got the, fancy-looking LED headlamps.
Yeah.
It's got the more posh wheels and chrome and trim. So, yeah, it's a very different execution. But this goes on through the entire industry. We just talked about the Lexus TX. That's basically a Grand Highlander.
Yeah.
And you know what? They'll turn it into a Lexus.
Yes.
That's what car companies do.
Would this be a good alternative to an Audi Q7? Haven't driven the MDX, but have the Audi and didn't care much for the numb steering. Wonder if the MDX is better.
It's funny because we always talk about Audi steering and how ultra light it is.
That's an Audi trait.
That's a total Audi trait. This one I notice it's very light as well, but when you put it in sport, it makes it a little bit better. I think it's better than the Audi.
I guess I just find with this model that it has such athletic handling. I would think that it would carry on to the steering wheel. It does not. It is very light. I get the appeal of it for maneuverability with these large SUVs for people. Put it in sport mode, as Zach said, it maybe gets a little better, but it's still quite light.
But the basis of this platform and chassis and the way it's tuned, it handles, we've talked about it many times, it drives like a big sedan.
Yeah.
So maybe the steering is light, but the vehicle overall handles really well.
This also has a V6. So if you want to get the Audi Q7 V6, it's going to cost over $82,000 in Canada. So you're paying substantially more money at a starting price versus this in Canada going up to $74,400
This
for
is
the
a deal.
top trim.
It's a lot of money, but it's a relative deal.
Yeah.
And now it's time for our hot topic. What's this one, Andrea?
Are we expecting any hybrids, plug-in hybrids, or electric models for the MDX and other Acuras anytime within 1 to 2 years?
Well, why do they do this to us, Andrea? They know we say the last letter of the alphabet differently in Canada.
I know.
So it's called the ZDX. In America, that's the ZDX. It's their full electric utility based on the Ultium platform that is shared with General Motors, but it's not going to be this big.
No, it's not this big. What are the plans with Acura for plug-in hybrids or hybrids? There won't be any. They're going straight to pure EVs. Now, will they revisit that at some point? I'm not sure. I mean, we see that with Volkswagen revisiting plug-in hybrids.
Ford.
We hear a Tiguan is coming. Yeah, Ford. Maybe they will have a change of heart. But at this point, straight to full pure EVs. I would assume they're going to have a 3-row SUV that is going to be a pure EV at some point.
Well, you know what? The thing is that they've missed the boat on the Honda side too, really, if you think about it. They only have one hybrid utility, and that's this CR-V, so they're way behind what Toyota's doing.
I mean, this MDX used to be a hybrid, and then they...
Sport hybrid.
Yeah, they eliminated it. I mean, really, if they had just waited a few more years, boy, would have been a big hit.
All right, so what I want you to pay attention to when we do the vital stats is the base model. We went through all the key standard features, crazy long list, and what it costs, that base model. Let's get into that.
Let's start with pricing. In Canada, the base model starts at just under $67,500, and the top trim is just under $74,500. In the US, the first front-wheel drive model starts at just under $50,000, the all-wheel drive model just over $52,000, and the top trim is just under $64,000.
Here's the fuel economy: 12.6 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, 9.4 on the highway. That's 19 miles per gallon city, 25 miles per gallon highway. The warranty is 4 years, 80,000 kilometers, or 50,000 miles. In the United States, complimentary maintenance is offered for 2 years, or 24,000 miles. 3-row premium SUVs. What could you buy?
For your consideration, 4 vehicles for you to consider.
Up first is the Infiniti QX60. It has a 3.5-liter V6 with 295 horsepower and a starting price just under $61,000.
The Lincoln Aviator with a 3-liter twin-turbo V6, 400 horsepower, and a starting price of $73,500.
The Audi Q7 with a turbocharged V6, 335 horsepower, and a starting price over $82,500.
The Volvo XC90 with the B6 powertrain, 295 horsepower, and a starting price of almost $75,000.
So there are 4 3-row SUVs for you to consider.
Lightning round. 2 things we like, 2 things we like to see improved.
I really like how easy this is to maneuver for a 3-row SUV.
Great drive system.
What I don't like is this trackpad business.
I don't like the dash. We're done.
We're done. Handsome, athletic, and practical.
What about the MDX?
It checks a lot of the right boxes.
Just fix that dash, Acura.